Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening and welcome to another special edition of the Liberian Diaspora Forum. This is our third straight night of programming. We had the privilege of listening to an intense dual citizenship debate between Honorable Dash A. Woma and Honorable Anthony Zize during our regular Sunday programming. And last night we had another special edition featuring President Mohammed Belete of the Federation of the Liberian Madingo Association in the United States of America. Tonight, we have the privilege of having a very special guest, and I will be opening up Honorable Eminent Emmanuel Wetty's phone line so that he can give us a very special welcome remark, since in fact this is indeed a special edition. There are a lot of things special about it, so he will be doing an opening remark, and then shortly after that, we will bring in the EULA president to introduce our guest. So, Honorable Emmanuel Wetty, your line is open, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Madam Senator, thank you very much. Before I start my introduction, I want to say thank you for helping Biafra Teen Age, the school I graduated from. I was in Liberia, and I saw the kind of work you did for Biafra Teen Age, taking it from a junior high school to a senior high. Thank you very much for the work that you did. We are all ages, so I just want to put that sideline in. Like I mentioned, my name is Emmanuel Wetty, happen to be the chairman of this convention, and we've been following your activities, and we see how much you have supported the effort towards citizenship. Now that you are in the States, we want to hear from you what we can do, what advice you have, what effort has been made, and things that we all can work together to make sure this thing come to pass. We happen to talk to many senators, and your name has been ringing very high that you support this bill. So our people want to hear from you, from yourself. But other than that, I want to say thanks to all the chapter leaders, the chairman of the board of his own, all the board members, and all the members of the UNA family, our friends, our mothers, our sisters, and everybody that make the time to come here. Thank you and welcome. Don't forget that the All Liberian Conference is December the 7th and the 8th in Washington, D.C. I want to say thanks to my member of my committee and everybody that made it possible to come on the conference. Again, thank you. And Senator, thank you very much for coming and spending some time with your people. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Honorable Wetty. So I will now open EULA's National President's line, Honorable Gay Slay. So he will now introduce our guest for tonight. Honorable Slay, your line is open, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for hosting this very important conference teleconference for us tonight. We appreciate all that you are doing to take the messages out there from the Liberian people and getting different personality and dignitary on this line. I think you're doing a very fine job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And then Eminent Wetty, also the chairman of the Dual Citizenship Committee. Thank you to you and members of the committee. I want to take this opportunity to welcome the Madam Senator to this conference, to the United States. I know we spoke before. I welcome you. I want to again welcome you tonight. I know it's almost time for you to go back, but if we're going to keep welcoming you until you return. But
Thank you. Thank you.
The Madam Senator, of course, she is no stranger to all of us, and she is a senator from Bond County, completing her first term, and she has been one of the major supporters of our dual citizenship effort in Liberia when it was first introduced by Clayton Watterson and Senator Kupi Senior Senator Kupi from Lofa County. You know, the Madam Senator Taylor, she was also one of those who supported this bill. So she's no stranger to us. She understands our cause. She understands our struggle, and she's there every step of the way. And tonight we are glad to have you on here, that you will give her more ideas, suggestions, and also we'll be asking some questions. I know we have chapter leaders, we have board members, board chair who are on tonight, and we'll be hearing from them as we move on. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for coming on, and with no further ado, we want to welcome the Madam Senator to our conference.
Welcome, Senator Taylor. The floor is all yours, ma'am.
I want to thank Eula and all of you on the line for such a unique forum. I've been a little saddened about the events unfolding concerning the weather, and I know there could be Liberians caught up in some of the difficulties that I see, running from North Carolina all the way to New York. Especially in New York, there are a lot of Liberians. I don't know if we've been able to find out if everybody is okay, but tonight I pray that God will grant us His special grace so that our people, wherever they are, could be saved. But I'm grateful to have such a unique opportunity to interact with Liberians, especially with the leadership. And I really look forward to a continued relationship, not just this one call, but we're hoping that as things progress and as we move forward to the debates, that we will get a chance to come home and get involved in easing the minds of our people as we consider the fact that Liberians did not come to the United States or to the diaspora by choice. It was as a result of a situation of war and crisis, and those of our brothers and sisters who have come here have been granted a special reprieve by God, because the fact that you've come here, you've been trained and educated in different aspects of our national life, and we do need you on board to come and help us rebuild our country. So thank you so much for this unique opportunity. I hope we will have a successful deliberations this evening.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So was that just a presentation, or?
Just my opening remarks. I think we can go straight into the questions, because I know that there are some specific questions about, particular things.
Okay.
And with the wire being open the way it is, I really don't know who's listening, and I would prefer for us to just go straight into the discussions.
Trust me, there are a lot of people listening, including a few people from Liberia. That's interesting. So with that said, I will then open up the question line. So any question, you heard the senator. She came all ready to address your concerns. So if you have any question or comment, by all means, please dial *61. As we've always done, *61 will get your questions through here. And if you happen to be at work where you can talk, by all means, you may text your question to 612-203-3820. If you're sitting before a computer monitor at work, please, you may email your question to LiberiaDiasporaForum@live.com. We will still get all of those questions. So with that said, I got a few questions here already, and I will begin opening lines here. Before the first line, though, I think I'd like to, start the question. For some reason, I just take pleasure in that. So, Senator Taylor, thank you. We've just been told that you support the dual citizenship bill. That's great for us to hear, especially those of us in the diaspora here. Even if we are not American citizens now, chances are we could end up being, American citizens sometime. So my question is, why you decided to throw your weight behind this bill? Why is it so important?
Well, the fact is that almost 4 years ago, Senator Watterson, Senator Kupi, and I thought about the fact that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora needed an avenue to come home and interact and be a part of the rebuilding of our beautiful country. And some of the barriers that prohibit Liberians from coming home and working is the fact that they come in on a U.S. passport in most instances. And by the time you show your passport at the airport, people say, these are Americans coming to our country to take away the little we have. And there were also calls from the diaspora about the fact that they wanted Liberia, as it is in other West African countries, to consider the dual citizenship issue so that they will have free, unfettered access to their country. It is because of these two main reasons that we thought it wise to begin to discuss the bill. The bill is still on the table. The 52nd legislature ended without us taking a definite position because we realized that this bill is also tied into the constitutional reform that is about to take place. I'm happy to tell you that the President constituted a constitutional reform committee early in June, if I'm not mistaken, June or July. They have already begun work. They will be visiting with you here in the diaspora. I hope when they come, you have time to really sit and discuss some of the issues as to how we can move forward. We have some amendments to make on our Constitution, and I think this will be a critical part of it. They will be interacting with citizens in Liberia and here in the diaspora to come up with some recommendations that we can put into the Constitution. So I'm looking forward to it. What I would like to suggest off the back is when I spoke to some of the members of EULA earlier when I got here, I intimated that it might be important to come to Liberia and interact with those of us and other lawmakers that will be looking at the issues, and maybe having town hall meetings in the different counties, because the end result is that those people who will vote on this issue are Liberian citizens, and they must understand the need for having such a dual citizenship bill so that their brothers and sisters remain a part of the integral part of the process which we have begun. And so I hope that they will not just be here in the Americas. I don't think EULA has had a meeting in Liberia. I know you've been doing your annual meetings here in different states, but it might be important to have a full delegation come and host a Liberian Day meeting, maybe somewhere in the country, where we can discuss some of these issues more critically and be able to look at all sides.
Thank you, Senator. I'll take the first caller, Honorable Wetty. Would you, just for the benefit of the audience, would you please state where you're calling from so we know? Honorable Wetty, your line is open, sir.
My name is Wetty from Columbus, Ohio. Mr. Moderator, you did ask the question I intended to ask, but since I want to pass on to let people know, Madam Senator, it's a plan of EULA to have an all-Liberian conference in Liberia. What we're looking at right now, according to Senator Finley, he intends to introduce the bill on the floor by late February, early March. So our plan is to be in Liberia at that time to have an all-Liberian conference and travel to some of the counties, to educate the people and explain this issue. So we took that suggestion from you when our team met you in Liberia, and we are planning this conference. In about 4 weeks from now, we'll be meeting. 4 to 5 weeks from now, we will be meeting in Washington, D.C., where we'll have one big conference in the States, and next year, March, we intend to go to Liberia to continue. We understand the need to educate our people and to be involved and try to, take away some of the fear. So we're working on that plan.
Is that it, Mr. Wetty?
Yes.
That's it for now. Okay, thank you. I'll take the next caller, EULA President, Honorable Isler. Would you please state where you're calling from, Honorable President, and then your comments, sir?
All right, thank you. My name is Gay Diesler Jr. I'm calling from Chicago, Illinois. I have a comment to make. When the senator was giving her introductory statement, she touched a very key point, not to the dual citizenship issue, but to what's happening on the east coast of this country. And I just want to make mention that throughout the course of the day today, I was able to touch base with most of the leaders in the eastern region of this country. And so far, all Liberians there from D.C. all the way to Massachusetts, all Liberians are well at this point. I haven't heard of any disaster. Some fence and things got broken down and stuff, but there's no major disaster in the Liberian community yet. Spoke to people on the island. I was able to talk to a Liberian leader who is in the Atlantic City, which was hard hit And he told me that he and his family and other members are doing well, but the other area where Liberians are is blacked out. He's not been able to reach there yet, but as soon as he's able to get there, he will keep me posted. So I have been on it today, and so far there's no disaster in terms of death being reported on any Liberians from the storm that took place. I just want to make mention of that. And in reference to speaking about educating Liberians in Liberia, earlier this year, in April of this year, our board chairman, Honorable Wilmer Conin, and our immediate past president, Eminent Cassidy, were in Monrovia, and they held a meeting at the University of Liberia where they provided education to auditorium full of Liberian students who had their own questions and concerns. So we started the process already. Even our colleagues from Europe, they were even able to travel, I think, to your own county, to the Bon County and to Ganta as well, and they provided some education there some time ago. And we plan, like the eminent said, once we come to Monrovia in February next year, we'll hold those meetings again, educate people, go on the radio, do different things before we will meet the legislature. So, I mean, those are all good points, and we are already on track on those things. So I just don't have a question for you, but I just want to make those comments.
Thank you, President Slay. So, folks, if you just joined us, and I noticed a lot of you just came in, tonight we have Senator Joy Howard Taylor back with us. She's here purposely at this time to talk about dual citizenship, and obviously she's been supported by the president of EULA and the former president of EULA, who's the chair of the dual citizenship committee. So, if you have any question, comment, or concern, by all means, please dial *61. And then we can take your question over here for the senator. So I'll take the next caller, Yuma Faya. Please state where you're calling from and your question for the senator.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Moderator and Madam Senator. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Well, I'm Faya Yuma. I'm calling from the state of Ohio. Honorable Senator, EULA have been very involved in making sure that the line of dual citizenship is pushed at both levels of the houses we have back home. Well, in our process, in pushing this line, we are told from some sources that some of the problems we have is we have not lobbied with members of both houses. And for definition's sake, all of individuals have defined lobbying as maybe an incentive, like a financial incentive to the senators and some representatives. If you were to evaluate this comment or this suggestion from your standpoint as senator, would you agree, or wouldn't you agree that indeed a financial incentive for the senator served to be a major function in making sure the bill is passed?
Well, I'm saddened that you have received such information. I would like to state unequivocally here this evening that I can say for myself and those in the House of Senate that we have asked for no incentive for this bill. Not at all. This bill is about the very lifeblood of our country. As important as the Jews who live outside of Israel are to Israel, is as important as those of you who live outside of Liberia are to the Liberian process and to the peace, the progress, and the development of our nation. It was no mistake that God allowed you guys to come out of the war, out of the crisis, and be able to live here and get the training and the exposure for which we are dying for today. I always say that those of you out in the diaspora form the middle class for Liberia. I really pray that you will interact not just on the phones and not just a few persons visiting. There are opportunities untold for small businesses to be started, for manufacturing companies to be done, for different partnerships with the level of expertise that you have, that irrespective of the fact that you won this dual citizenship bill, and I think almost all of us have a general agreement that this is the way we're going to go. We're trying to conclude the processes as the law dictates. But I think you have a responsibility to come back and get involved in the rebuilding of your nation. So there is no incentive that will pay me as a lawmaker for something that is important to the very lifeblood of my country. I don't know where this information came from and who's spreading it, but I know this is not something that I ascribe to.
Thank you, Senator. I'll take the next question. Mr. Ansumana Randolph Jabata, would you please state where you're calling from and your question for the Senator?
I'm calling from New York, and Senator, welcome. And there are a series of questions, but I would just ask one for now.
Thank you.
What are some of the objections to the dual citizenship that you have heard?
Thank you, Mr. Jabata.
I don't think there is an objection per se. There's a perception by those Liberians who've been caught up and have lived in Liberia, not getting a chance to come outside, that when those of you who live in the diaspora come home, it's as if you're coming to take, what they have. But what we have together as a nation belongs to all of us. But they think sometimes that those of you in the diaspora have had a really good, and you have all the good jobs, and you're living in good houses, and you're living a good life where they continue to suffer. And even if you have a house of siblings, and few of you go away, when it's time to come back, people say, "Oh, the people moving, they've lost their space." I think it's just an attitude of discussion, of bringing to the table the positive things that the diaspora Liberians bring to the table, and that in fact we do need the expertise that you've learned over the years. So I don't think there's a major objection to the dual citizenship bill. It's just that our country does not accede to dual citizenship, and that's a law. That law must be changed through laws and through amendments in our Constitution. It is a process. It's not an event. Some people think that maybe one or two persons sitting in one corner can just switch the laws and it will become automatic. But this is a process that has to go through its full length. But I don't think it precludes you or stops you as a Liberian from coming home and getting involved in the development of our country. And I'm praying that many, many, many more of you will come home and get involved. Because when you come home, you're a Liberian citizen. It's difficult to say that Liberians who are natural-born citizens can just lose their citizenship like that. There is but yet a security implication in what we're trying to do, and I think that is where the discussion at the Senate is. Someone who is has agreed to join the U.S. Army or Navy or Armed Forces of the United States or England, once you do that and you pledge allegiance to this country beyond and above your own country, that is the security implication that we must consider. How do we work it? Because someone who's pledged allegiance to the United States Army, for example, who's worked here and gone abroad and fought for America, what happens if, and it might not happen in our lifetime, and I hope that with the relationship that the two countries have, that we will never have such a situation. But what if something happens and America is on one side and Liberia finds itself on the other side of the spectrum? Who will that person have their loyalty to? And I think that is the critical question that we were discussing. What are the security implications in the dual citizenship bill? And we've had some people from the security sector and others come so that we can begin this discussion. I think that is the most critical part of where we are. And that is the only question that I know of. Nothing else outside of that.
Thank you, Senator. Well, obviously, this special edition was requested for and organized through the efforts of EULA. And so I think I'm going to open up President Gay's phone line and eminent Emmanuel Witty line. So I'll open you two gentlemen's line, and so that anytime you feel that you need to buttress or clear anything additional, you can do so without interrupting the senator. So I'll now open your two lines before I take the next caller. Honorable Slay?
Yeah.
Okay, so your line will stay open. Just be mindful of not interrupting the senator. And Honorable Witty?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll keep your lines open because I don't know when you want to make comment, like you said. So do you have anything to add to what's been said so far, or should I just go on and take the next caller? No?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So no name, your last four digits, 1441, 1441. Would you please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question?
This is Adelaide Fisk from Wisconsin.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Welcome to the forum. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to welcome the senator, and I am pleased that after 14 years of mayhem, we are able to speak with someone who was in the eye of the storm. My question I have, well, partly answered was, I've been in America for longer than I care to remember, but I came in 78. And so, as you will understand that everything that happened at home was really painful to me because I left with the intention of going back, and I was caught up, like in a whole storm. But anyway, I wanted to get some clarification on the dual citizenship and the Constitution. But she partly answered that. But she would she could clarify why, for instance, there are kids who have come, and because of extenuating circumstances, they had to get citizenship. Why would they be denied their citizenship when they were born in Liberia? What's the Constitution that prohibits that?
Thank you. Senator?
I believe that the issue of denial of citizenship comes in, and the laws are clear that if someone goes and pledges allegiance to a different country, that you automatically lose your citizenship. That's the law. However, and even though I am a lawmaker, sometimes reality and what people hope to see are sometimes far apart. I don't know of a situation of Liberians who have U.S. citizenship who have come to Liberia and say, well, I'm a Liberian citizen, and you're denied anything. The fact is that people want to have a legal way to do what they want to do properly, so that you can have or hold a Liberian passport and hold an American passport, so that as you go in and out, you're not barred. But the law says if you pledge allegiance, you automatically lose your citizenship. Are there Americans in Liberia who are not working? There are. There are many people in government that have U.S. citizenship. I spoke to the ambassador the other day, and he was saying that they have now opened a corridor in New York and at the Liberian Embassy in Washington, D.C., that Liberians can go and get their documents, so that when you travel, you can travel with a Liberian passport. And except someone tells me differently, I don't know of a situation where someone would apply for a Liberian passport and they've been denied. But the law is the way it is, and that is why this process allows us to begin to make the adjustments to see how Liberian citizens can also be U.S. citizens at the same time. And it is a process that is ongoing. We're hoping that we can conclude all of the discussions so that when we finally put in place that law, it will satisfy all of the possible scenarios that we have.
Okay, Senator, I have a text message question here. It comes from Clarence Gono in Pennsylvania. The question reads, how does dual citizenship benefit locals and Liberia's national interest? If a Liberian becomes a citizen of another country but owns properties in Liberia, should such person be made to pay tax like any other alien or foreigner?
Our Constitution is clear that people of Negro descent can own land. I don't think land payment for taxes differentiate between residents or non-residents or citizens or non-citizens. If you own property in Liberia, based on the value of that property, you are supposed to pay taxes, period. It doesn't discriminate and say, well, somebody is a Liberian living at home, so their taxes are lower than someone who lives abroad. The tax rate is the same across the board. People who are of non-Negro descent may not own land at all. So you can be a Nigerian citizen and you can come to Liberia and buy land, and you pay your taxes and you continue to keep that land. So those of you who have property The thing is that the taxes must be paid as per the tax rate, and there are different tax rates for different kinds of property. So I hope that answers his question. How does dual citizenship benefit those living in Liberia?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a clear question, because a medical doctor, for example, having been trained, educated and trained, and with requisite experience as a neurosurgeon, because I think there is one Liberian neurosurgeon out of Philadelphia, deciding to come home and work. There is no neurosurgeon in Liberia at all at this point. I think we don't even have a pathologist. And so you have cases in the courts that when they're trying to get a pathologist report, we must send either from Ghana or from other West African countries for the pathologist to come and do that particular work. So there are opportunities for many different sectors of training for those of you who manage to stay abroad and get the requisite training that Liberia needs. We need teachers. We need doctors. We need lawyers. We need engineers. We need builders. We need architects. And because we've had a war, the level of training that we would have gotten if we had not had the 25 years of crisis, we would have had many more trained Liberians than we have to date. And so our trained manpower, the middle class, is out in the diaspora. We must do all that we can to have them engaged so that they can become a part of the process. Because when you have trained manpower, your country will grow. Growth and development hinges on the development of the middle class and small industries that are the engine of growth. And so that is what the diasporan Liberian brings to the table. And that is what we need. So that together, not taking away the rights of those who've lived over there, but together we can put our hands together and rebuild our country.
Thank you, Senator. I'll take the next call here. Al Donzo, for the benefit of the audience, would you please state where you're calling from and your question for the senator?
My name is Al Donzo, calling from Plymouth, Minnesota. Honorable Senator, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
My question has to do with elections in Nigeria. All the living abroad was doing for so many years that we do not participate in the election process. I wonder if there is any bill pending in the House of Representatives or the Senate that will grant the right of Liberians living abroad to participate in the national elections. And I would like to commend you for your effort ensuring that dual citizenship bill pass through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donzo.
There's no law that prohibits Liberians from coming and getting involved in the elections, but you must do so at home. I don't know of any African countries south of the Sahara, maybe except for Southern Africa, that allows citizens to vote outside of their native land. The National Election Commission has a timetable that states exactly what happens at what time. And I'm sure there are many Liberians who come home during that process so that they are part of the process. I don't think we're sophisticated enough yet to have such a system outside of Liberia, and I think we should still guard this particular thing a little bit to the chest so that those who really want to come and get involved in elections should be at home where people will see them and interact with them. In the 2011 elections, something happened for which I've been on the record saying that I did not think it was proper for people to move people from one portion of the country to the other to vote. There were some people moving citizens back and forth, from Bon County to Nima, or from Nima to Grand Chile, or from Grand Chile to Grand Bassa. And it's that kind of shifting that I think is wrong, because when someone lives in Monrovia, for example, and you're able to say, well, these Monrovia citizens are actually from Bon County, and you pay their way to go and vote in Bon County, what it does is it upsets the election. Because the people coming from Monrovia, going and imposing their will, they might have, and a simple majority in most cases, maybe a simple majority of 500 persons could tip the vote in favor of someone. But that person might not be the choice of that constituency or that county. and then you tip the elections, and then you go back to Monrovia and you live. You've lost the opportunity to pick your own lawmaker who will be representing and making decisions based on where you live, and you've also upset the elections of someone in another county. It is the same thing with those here in the diaspora, maybe in terms of the presidency. But I believe the Constitution is clear that people who represent people are those who must make the decision as to who represents them at the local level. And so I think it's important for those who are interested in elections to begin the process of checking up when the timing is supposed to be scheduled so that they get a chance to go and register to vote, and then your voice can be heard. But to stay in America and cast your ballot for someone who is a representative or a senator for which you might not even be living in that county when you've helped tip the balance in favor or against a particular candidate, there's something about it that I don't think is quite fair. And so we must continue to talk about this particular aspect. But you can always go home and get involved and get your voter's registration card and vote for those who you want. But at least that way you're voting in block with those people from that particular constituency so they know each other as they discuss the issues of who should lead them.
Thank you. Once again, folks, if you're just joining us, we have Senator Taylor on the line talking about, speaking in defense of dual citizenship. So if you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61, and we will open up your line so you can have a say. If you can't do that, if you can't talk at work, you may text your question to 612-203-3820. Or you can email your question to Liberian Diaspora Forum at live.com. So I'll take the next caller. Abu Samuel, would you please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the senator?
This is Samuel Abu. I'm calling from Washington, D.C. Madam Joelle Taylor, thank you very much for coming to the United States and having an opportunity to listen to some of us here in the diaspora. This dual citizenship is very important to us in the diaspora and equally important to the people back at home, just as you have stated, to create a middle class. But before we come to you in the House passing a law accepting dual citizenship, we have a problem here. The government of Liberia just recently launched the ECOWAS passport at a Liberian embassy, and that was like in July. They did not give us a window to tell us, okay, we're going to renew old passports for 5 months, for 6 months, and there was no information. Now, when you call the embassy, they do not want to renew the old passports. They tell you they are not renewing old passports, and we should pay $200 for the new passport. The new passport needs biometrics, fingerprinting, and this fingerprinting is only done in Washington. What happens to somebody who is all the way in California, who will have to pay almost $700 to $800 to come to Washington, D.C. to do fingerprinting? Can you appeal to the embassy and the government to please resource this fingerprinting to other states so that they can at least alleviate some of the financial burden? Because some of the money we spend, we can use it to send to our relatives back home, at least so that people will not be getting the streets for hardship that they're facing. So can you please, before you make a decision on dual citizenship, we still want to be holding our old passports and be going to Liberia and coming out. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Abu.
Mr. Abu, the fact of the matter is that the laws have changed in Africa. There are now regional bodies like the European Union. Everybody must carry a European Union passport. Liberia is not a country in isolation, but it is a part of the ECOWAS states, which are resolved to integrating a lot of things. We're hoping that the first integration is the passport, that you can travel throughout West Africa without getting a visa, that you can, hopefully the immigration things will be integrated. We're hoping that the monetary union is something that they will be considering, as we move along. So the world is becoming more of a global village than anything. It is because of that the ECOWAS countries no longer have personal passports for its citizens. All of the citizens that are in ECOWAS must have an ECOWAS passport. That is a part of the process, and we must just get those passports because the old passports are no longer in use. If someone were to update your passport or to renew it, you will not be able to travel with it because it will be considered a passport that has been banned, and you will have problems when you travel outside of America. It is better to have the new ECOWAS passport as is being made available. Fortunately, I had a chance to speak with the ambassador in Washington, D.C., and he is aware of the problems of people coming from different places to do the biometric passport. He's already putting in place a scheme to go around the country and find out where there are many Liberians, and if it will be possible to set up some temporary units there for certain periods so that people can get their passports so everybody doesn't have to come to Washington, D.C. So I'm hoping that in early next year, you will see that people don't have to go to New York or go to Washington, D.C., that there might be some other places set up closer to some of the large areas where Liberians live so that you can access that passport. But I would like to request for those who have the old Liberian passport to do their best to get the new passports because you will not be able to travel on the old passport at all. And I think the ambassador is trying hard to work out this new system as fast as possible to provide access. He told me that he's been traveling around and trying to get an analysis of where Liberians are in really large numbers so that the effect of having whatever the financial cost will be for such outfits will not be too heavy if you go into an area where it's really limited. But they will try to pull Liberians into areas where people can get their passports. So hopefully this is something that will be done out of California and some of the other places sooner than later.
Thank you, Senator. Another quick text message question. It comes from Lusoni Sako, Minnesota. The question is, are you certain that the dual citizenship bill will pass, or are you skeptical? That's it.
Like I said earlier,
yeah.
I believe this is something that there is a general agreement amongst the lawmakers that this is something that we want to see. We're hoping that we can work it through as quickly as possible and have it done. However, being a human being, I can only speak for myself. I'm hoping that all of the interactions that are taking place now with those of us and those of you who get a chance to travel, the discussions can continue so that when we get to that point, it will be done easily.
Thank you, Senator. I see so many of you have just joined in the last minute. So if you need to ask question, make comment, or have concern, please dial *61. *61 is what you need to dial to have a say. I'll take the next caller. Forgive me if I butcher your name, right? I believe it's Sangolo. Sangolo, please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the senator.
Yes, my name is Sadia Sangolo. I am from, I reside within the Dallas, Texas area. Madam Senator, welcome. And I hope next time you pay us a visit in Dallas, Texas, we'd like to have an open forum with you too. It's part of our Liberian community. You guys doing a great job. I must commend my brothers. My question has partially been answered as I sat and listened because I experienced it. I was traumatized when I went to Liberia regarding my passport, and I decided on changing my passport. And I was told that I was not a Liberian. And so I had to go and see the foreign minister, and we went through a lengthy process, and I was apologized to because of, certain things that were not quite explained according to the revised Constitution. Okay. Secondly, I want to tell you thank you for speaking with an ambassador because that was my next question, that sections we're going to regionalize, hopefully have regionalized offices that will be able to deal with people coming from different parts of the United States because it's pretty expensive. So my questions have pretty much been answered, and I want to tell you thank you for having taking up your busy schedule to come and talk to us. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. I do appreciate them, and maybe next year when I come, I'll consider coming to Texas. God's special grace.
Thank you, Senator.
Upon invitation, y'all got to invite me. I can't just be jumping around. So if I get an invitation, I will come.
You need to have a tour bus and go from state to state, Senator. I'll take my next call.
Y'all provide a tour bus? Y'all provide a tour bus? I don't mind.
When we reach that bridge, we'll cross it, Senator.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll take my next caller. Wireless caller, no name. The last 4 digits, 0451. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for the senator.
Good evening. My name is Rowan Hill, and I'm calling from Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
And thank you, Mr. Moderator, Madam Senator. Let me just first point out that I'm not a politician, and I do not understand politics well. My background is in architectural technology. However, my question is, what are the necessary requirements needed to pass this bill? And who voted this bill into act?
The necessary requirements are that a bill is put forward, sponsored by members of either the lower house or the upper house. Once it's passed by the first house, it goes to the second house for concurrence, and then it gets on the referendum for the National Constitutional Review. And then the people of Liberia vote on whether they want the existing changes to the Constitution to take place. That's why I say it is a process, but it must begin with some sponsors of the bill writing up the bill, checking out all of the background information, because there will be discussions. Once the bill is put on the floor, the committee in charge of elections will take control of it. There will be hearings done, public hearings on all sides. You will bring in experts from different angles to discuss the bill. You will have input from the public, and then that committee brings the bill back and goes to the Liberian Senate, for example, and says, well, we vetted this particular bill, and this is where we are. Once the Senate passes it, then it goes to the lower house for concurrence. So that's the process.
Thank you. Thanks once again. My next caller, Boakai, would you please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the senator? Boakai.
Okay. Good evening, Senator. Joel, my name is Dr. Leroy Boakai. I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio. I was curious, wanted to know if citizens from West Africa like Ghana that has dual citizenship, if those citizens can also apply to become Liberian citizens, and if they do, what mechanisms do we have to prevent them from claiming dual citizenship in their homeland, since our Constitution says you lose your citizenship if you pledge allegiance to another country? I ask this question because it would seem like if there isn't something to prevent that, then what we are doing is preventing natural-born Liberians from enjoying dual citizenship while granting dual citizenship to other West Africans who have, by virtue of their country, permitting dual citizenship to enjoy dual citizenship in our country.
Well, that is a critical part of the discussions. But again, it depends on what the countries do. Our country just doesn't allow dual citizenship, but the Ghanaian government allows dual citizenship. If a person of Negro descent leaves Ghana and goes to Monrovia and goes through the process and is a Liberian citizen traveling on a Liberian passport, when he goes home, his home country has to say, well, we accept dual citizenship or not. And that's the critical thing. The countries that allow dual citizenship, if you're an American citizen, for example, and you also carry a Liberian passport, nobody bothers you when you come to America. The thing is that when you enter America, you must come on that American passport. It is not expected that a U.S. citizen who has a Liberian or who could have a Liberian passport and an American passport, that when you come to America, you will come in with your Liberian passport. You will not. You have to come in on the American passport. So the American passport is law and gospel within the United States. So we got to be careful. But they don't care when you travel outside of America what you do. You can have a passport from Zimbabwe or from New Zealand. They don't care. But whenever you enter the United States, you must either have a passport from your home country with a requisite visa, or you must travel on the U.S. passport. So for all intents and purposes, the U.S. passport is law and gospel in the United States. So even as we're clamoring for these dual citizens ships. We must understand that there are countries who protect their territory, and that's what we're trying to do in our instance when the Constitution and the law say dual citizenship is not allowed. If we as Liberians decide to change it, then it's in the interest of our people. Hopefully we can get there. But I mean, it doesn't preclude people who are of Negro descent from getting a passport in Liberia. And I believe many Africans have Liberian passports. So maybe when they're coming to Liberia, they will use that Liberian passport so they have easy access to our country and its resources. But when they go home on their national passport. So is it a good thing to have a group of people come and take our passport only because they want to have access to Liberia's resources and the benefits that they get? But when they leave our country and they go to their country, they don't carry our passport and say, well, I'm a Liberian citizen. When they go to those countries, they go home on their national passport. So those are the questions we must all look at as we consider this issue of dual citizenship.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. Before I take the next caller, though, I do want to ask you, sometime during the deliberation, you alluded to the fact that if someone takes oath here to allegiance to the flag of America, and if the person was in the military or some security apparatus, that is of serious concern, given the security nature, if America and Liberia were to be on the opposing side. I think that's a very valid point. But the question then becomes, we now have a Nigerian national heading the armed forces of Liberia. Isn't that a national security concern, ma'am?
Well, when those decisions were made, we didn't have a country that had full sovereign rights. Remember, we've come to a crisis. The international community had taken control of our security, and all of the important things that we had to do had to be referenced through the United Nations system. And they decided that they would put in place some measures because we had lost a portion of our sovereignty. And that's why we now have that person in that position. I'm hoping that when we have trained our army and we now have access to arms, there's still an arms embargo on Liberia. We have access to arms and we can now fend for ourselves, that will not be the case. But it's an interim measure because Liberia was considered a pariah state and the international community took control of its sovereignty. In a normal situation, that would not be the case.
Thank you, Senator. My next caller is Gonglo. Gonglo, would you please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the Senator? Gonglo.
Yes, I'm calling from Philadelphia. My name is Kalabo Gonglo, to be precise. I will make a quick comment, then I will ask the Senator a question. My comment regarding the dual citizenship, for Kalabo Gonglo, I do believe that the laws of Liberia as currently crafted, it is a good law. Citizenship, assuming citizenship in other countries is a voluntary event. However, my sympathy is with the children of Liberians who live outside Liberia because of the war. And our law gives them provision that they can still become citizens of Liberia when they reach the age of 18. What is not clear to me, and I think the Supreme Court needs to clarify, is whether that privilege goes even up to the age of 50 if they didn't do it at the age of 18. And I think those who have children who have reached 18, it's better you take your child to Liberia to decide which country they want to be a citizen, or whether they want to be a citizen of Liberia or of the U.S. or any other country for that matter. But for adults to willingly assume citizenship in another country, for it to become a national issue, I don't see the dual citizenship as a national issue. There are pressing issues that undermines or underpins the peace process in Liberia now, the sustainability of our democracy, that I think you should put on the table. First priority, for example, let me ask the Senator her position on the Code of Conduct. Our Constitution, the Constitution of 1986, calls for the Code of Conduct to be passed into law by the legislature. The 52nd legislature did not. The 53rd legislature, which she is a part of,
has rejected the code of conduct. I wonder what was the senator's position on that, if she can clarify that to Eula at this open forum. We would like to know, because they are public officials and people come to public office, they must come with integrity. The code of conduct is important. I think those are things that Eula, as an advocacy group, interest group, should advocate for. Because if you don't have a stable country, you're going to live here forever. My second concern for the senator, and I would like her to address, is there is much information that the Liberian legislature that she's a member of is now one of the highest paying legislative body in Africa. What was her role in that budget? What was her position? I understand they make $10,000 salary per month, excluding benefits. If she can maybe clarify those issues to us who live in the diaspora, would be better, because I think those issues undermine the sustainability of our democratic process. If you're going to have a bunch of angry and hungry people in the country, then you're just waiting for a time for violence. And that is my own take on this discussion. And I would like to hear the senator to respond to that.
Thank you.
I want to thank the caller for shifting the debate a little bit, and I think it's in the spirit of good governance and how we look at our new country and our democracy, and it's important. Thank you. I want to say to the caller that, as a matter of fact, I am chairman of autonomous commissions and agencies in the Liberian Senate, which covers the Election Commission and all of the other issues. The Code of Conduct is a document in my committee room. Before we closed this first session, we provided the Code of Conduct to the Liberian Senate. Copies were made available. Discussions were held with the civil society, and then we got caught up in the budget. Somehow we delayed in the budget process, and we did not pass the Code of Conduct. I can tell you that when we open in January, that is a document that the Senate is resolved to passing. The Code of Conduct entered the 52nd legislature in the lower house. And the laws are, where the bill originates, a decision must be taken before it is sent to the second house. The Code of Conduct failed in the lower house in the 52nd legislature, and so it was never sent to the Senate. We took upon ourselves as members of the 53rd legislature to work on the Code of Conduct. We've made some adjustments to it, and I'm sure in the next sitting that Code of Conduct will be passed and sent to the lower house for its ratification. I hope that clarifies that particular issue. On the issue of benefits, if I remember exactly what the words of the caller were, was that we get paid $10,000 minus plus benefits, and that is not the truth. The total amount that we get is about $8,000 something, including benefits. We get 500 gallons of fuel. We get telephone and text funding. We get, and I don't have all of the figures. I want to promise you that when I get back, Mr. Kromah, I will send you an official copy of what our benefits are so people can see it. But we do not get paid as the highest legislature in West Africa. You're talking about countries like Nigeria. I believe the Nigerian senator gets over $1 million a year. I know that because of the level of work that we do, let me talk about the gasoline, for example. And it's always good to stand on the other side and criticize people on one side of the fence. If you're not walking in their shoes, it's easy to say, oh, they always want more and they want more. But the Liberian legislature is in a critical position because of the level of poverty in our country. 500 gallons of gas. I'm a senator representing Bon County, and I go from Monrovia to my county at least 3 times a month. By the time I make my second trip, the 500 gallons of gas is already finished. Can you imagine those who have to go to Grand Cru? It takes you 3 days to get to Grand Cru. 500 gallons of gas can only carry you on one trip and not even bring you back. So let's be real. I know that we live in difficult circumstances, but there are certain things that are required in order to enable us to do our job properly. In 7 years, this has been the first time that we've accepted an increase in our benefits and our salaries. First time in 7 years. The executive branch has the ability to bring on board all of the experts that you can imagine Just looking at the executive budget. The judiciary budget, in fact, was reduced when we're talking about the need to capacitate the judiciary in the counties, in the Leeward counties. But everybody's hopping about $8,000 that a lawmaker makes. There's a managing director for a public corporation that doesn't even bring money into the national budget that makes $25,000 United States dollars in the executive a month. There are other agencies in Liberia. The managing director of the port makes $25,000 a month, my dear. There are other agencies, there are other commissions where people make $10,000 and $12,000 to go from their homes to their offices and to go on the different trips that they go on in such of sector work. But it is expected that I will make this money, and I have to pay everybody I have to pay scholarships for children who are not able to get into school. I have to bury people when they die. I have to pay for people who go to the hospital. People come from Bon County on a regular trip and they end up in my office. 30-person Senator Taylor, we came to this UN meeting. We're ready to go back. We don't have money to pay our way back. It is expected that you do all of this. So the money that we make, I always tell people that it's small compared to the responsibilities that we have. We go to the counties and we're expected to take money from our pockets to do all of the projects. I know I just spent $20,000 before I left Liberia to set up scholarship payments for the scholarships that I have in the capital city at the universities and throughout my county. This money comes from my salary. Lawmakers are not expected to work in any field anywhere because you have an almost 24-hour job. So we have no other income coming from anywhere. So the money that we make, we must do projects, we must do things for people, all of the other things that are associated with the work that we do. We're the only branch that has such a liability on our heads. And for 7 years without getting an increase, we decided that this year we ensure and we have money for vehicles and we had addition to our salaries to enable us to do the level of work that we do for our constituencies. And I'm sorry if people feel that it's too much money for a lawmaker, but that money goes right back to the people that we serve because of the level of poverty that our people are in. And so I will not apologize for the amount of money I make. If you ask me, I will hope one day we'll make more than that because I spend 75% of my salary taking care of constituency needs, and my children most times go without. But that's a choice that I make because I believe that those who elected me, there are certain things that are happening. You can't just sit down. There are thousands of people in Bon County who don't have access to pay to go to public school. I'm even talking about private schools. So when those people come and say, oh, Senator Taylor, my daughter is in the 12th grade, she doesn't have a way to finish high school, what do I tell that person? Wait till the budget pass or wait till we find jobs for your people? And the fact of the matter is that jobs have not yet been created, but we have put money in the budget this year to ensure that there will be additional training needs for vocational and skills training for our people so we can begin to create some circles of jobs to alleviate the poverty that we have.
Thank you. Honorable Sled, Honorable Wetty, your lines are open just so you know, so feel free to jump in anytime. That's a promise made, and it's a promise kept. So if you're just joining us, folks, please dial *61. I know there are so many people waiting here, but that will not stop me from inviting the rest of you. *61 is what you need to dial to have a say. So I'll go right to the next caller, James Wilson, the second, James Wilson. James Wilson, please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the senator.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, Madam Senator, for coming to speak to us in the diaspora. My name is Father James N. Wilson II, and I live in the second state of Liberia, second capital city of Liberia called Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. The question of dual citizenship is so important for our community, and I'm glad EULA is taking this lead. It is a constitutional matter. It is a constitutional matter and also immigration issue as well. My question to you is that what part of the Liberian Constitution that prohibits dual citizenship? But before you answer that question, I want to do a follow-up comments that were made about salaries of the legislators in Liberia. The concern that people have. I was in Liberia last December, and one of the reasons why people are afraid of the dual citizenship is that they're afraid that Liberians will go back and
and as you correctly said, will go back and take their jobs. There are instances where when Mrs. Salif or Goldman, when she took over, she recruited all Liberians from the States, and they, to go home and help. And those Liberians, they know that here in the United States, you cannot make $5,000 in 2 weeks. They know that. But they are in Liberia making so much money, robbing our country, at the expense of the poor people that cannot even afford. And so the salary, the gap is so wide that they make so much money while the people are sitting there. So that's why in the comment of the legislators making so much money, people are raising the issue. And so all of it ties in with the fear that people have that if dual citizenship is granted, a lot of Liberians are going to go back home and they're going to overrun them, make more money, take all their jobs. But they are not looking at the developmental part of it, that by Liberians going back, it will be at the advantage of the country. It will indeed be. So the issue before us is a constitutional matter, and I hope the senators or the legislators will deal with that from the constitutional perspective as well. So, does the Liberian Constitution prohibit dual citizenship? Is my question.
Thank you, Father James Wesley. Senator?
My telephone was giving me a little problem. I heard the first question about the constitutional aspect. What was the second question?
Yeah, I still have him here.
I had a call coming in and I didn't quite get it.
Okay, Father James Wilson, would you please go over your comments? The question.
The second question.
He's coming. I just opened up his line, man. He's coming back. Father Wilson?
Yeah, my first question, Madam Senator, is constitutional matter. Does the Liberian Constitution prohibit dual citizenship? Is the first one. The second aspect of that ties in with the income gap in Liberia and the fear that people have that if senators, legislators are making so much money, people from this country who should know the work ethics and etiquette leave from here, and they want to make money overnight. So people have fear that Liberians going back home, if they grant citizenship, dual citizenship, they're going to do the same thing. That's the greatest fear. So all of it boils down to one, fear, secondly, constitutional issue.
Thank you, Father Wilson.
Well, Father Wilson, the fact of the matter is the portion of our laws that deal with the dual citizenship is under the Liberian Codes Revised, Chapter 22, Acts causing loss of citizenship, like you said, obtaining naturalization in a foreign country, giving your and I don't have my constitution with me, so I'm just talking off the top of my head. Pledging allegiance to a particular government is an act for a loss of citizenship. Somehow I know that it's tied into a constitutional provision. I'm going to also, research that because I want to get the exact constitutional provision so I can give it to you. I will call back with that information sometime tomorrow, Mr. Kromah, and so that we clear exactly where the issues are. But the laws of the statutes of our country evolve as a result of the Constitution. That's why the Constitution is the organic law. The Constitution gives a general framework, and out of the general framework, all of the subsidiary laws are drawn out. So there's a particular portion of it, but I don't have the information right at my fingertips. I will research that and get that one back to you.
Thank you. I'll take the next caller here. Is it Delaney Joyce? Joyce Delaney. Please tell us where you're calling from and your question for Senator Taylor. Joyce Delaney. Sorry.
No, Joyce DeLine.
Joyce DeLine. I apologize. Right. I'm not the best. Yeah.
Okay,
Welcome to the forum.
Okay, thank you. My name is Joyce DeLine, and I'm calling from Georgia. Welcome, Madam Senator, to the United States. And happy that you're on this forum. I've been listening to dual citizenship. Almost everybody asking the same question. So I would like to deviate a little bit in terms of security in Liberia, because I was one of the first female ladies, one of 50 that was recruited in the Army during the Tory administration. And I'm very concerned about the Army. I read up on the Army, And the morale of the Army is so low that I am so concerned, especially with the United Nations trying to downsize. What is really being put in place that the Army or the police can really deal with the security sector in Liberia? Because security is my business, and I love the military. I've been in the military, so I understand some of what people are going through. So I would just like to know, most especially in terms of housing, pay, and just morale. What is really being done?
Thank you.
Being that the Army is the national security of the country.
Thank you, ma'am. Senator?
Please just state that not just the Army, the security sector, because security is not just the Army. It's the Army, it is the immigration, it is the police, it is the emergency protection unit, it is all of the security sector agencies, including the judiciary, that make up the peace and security of our country. So you must look at it holistically. I know that, for example, the police housing, some of it has been renovated. There's an old police housing on Camp Johnson Road somewhere that was just being dedicated before I left. There are housing units being built. I know we have a huge one in Banga City. Banga for the Army. The old barracks was renovated. They're renovating barracks across the country so that there will be adequate housing. But security is not just about arms. I believe we must take the issue of security a step further. Security is about people. The vested interest of our people, when they have a chance to live a decent life, becomes the real security. Because it's easy when someone doesn't have anything and confusion and trouble coming, they will just push it along and make it faster. Because it's like, we don't have it, so we should destroy who has it. But if someone is working, living in Nima County somewhere, and they're working and making their money, they build their house, they have a decent school to send their children, they have a decent hospital, that becomes security for that community. Because that person or that individual has vested interest. So in as much as we're considering what are we doing in terms of our security sector, I think we must take it a step further. How do we utilize funding now in the budget to ensure that Liberian citizens have more security in terms of jobs, in terms of education, in terms of health care, in terms of empowerment, so that our citizens can take up the responsibility of being stakeholders in a way that they provide us with additional security. The Army of Liberia is less than maybe 1,500. I don't know how much the police force is, but if you think about the porous borders and all of the different things happening in our country, we must switch security to individuals who become owners of the vision of our country, thereby really securing our country. I think that's where I look at security. Of course, in this year's budget, I think the person with the security sector has the second highest. I think it's education, it's security, education, and health. Those are the first three areas in the budget that have huge sums of money to provide all of these benefits. But, you know, in terms of building and rebuilding houses and rebuilding the Army, making sure that the strength is goes back up to 2,000, which I think is still small, and all of the other immigration and other security sector agencies that are being enhanced, create a situation where our security is better today than it was 3 years ago. And I hope as we continue to work and move towards 2017 and other aspects of our national life, that the security can be improved, not just by security sector personnel, but by Liberians who are owners of their own destiny.
Thank you, Senator. I know that some of you have been waiting so long, but please bear patient. I'm taking these questions in the order that they were sent to us. And on the other hand, if you're just joining us, please dial *61, *61 on your phone, so that your question will come over here, and we will let you have a say. So with that said, the next caller is Alfonso So. Alfonso, would you please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the senator.
Okay, thank you, moderator. How are you, Madam Senator? I'm Alfonso Zienso calling from Rhode Island for Voice of GIA Online Radio 2. Madam Senator, let me just pivot a little bit from the citizenship discussion. Last Sunday, I had Dr. Bafos Chimba, who is one of an opposition member of the House of Representatives from Maryland County, was on my program and is currently aligned with Representative Akara Gray, accusing the president of lack of responsiveness, lack of social services to the people of Liberia, and that even the president has lied to the country in terms of her son, who is said that was doing the pro bono work, but currently the assembly does have some documentation in the opposition of him being paid. If this information is true and that was to come to the senator desk, what will be your position?
Thank you, Mr. Sir.
You know, I today just like you have received this information through email about some of the things happening in Liberia. I know that the responsibility of any leader is to ensure that those in positions of trust are able to do so in a way that provides benefits for our country. I need to really research this and find out what's going on. I've been out of the country for almost 6 weeks, and it was just because of the storm that I'm still here. I'm hoping that by the weekend the airports can open to allow me to go home. I want you to give me the chance to go back to Liberia and find out what is really happening. It is not good as a leader to, without doing proper research and finding out all of the details, begin to discuss something haphazardly. So I would like to get a rain check on this particular question until I go home and find out what the details are and what the issues are. The president, who has the responsibility to hire people who she feels can help her run the government, has taken some of these decisions, and we need to look carefully at it and the ramifications. And I would like to ask for a rain check on this particular question.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kromah?
Yeah, this is Wetty.
Yeah, welcome. Come in, Mr.
Kromah, I want you to give me 1 minute to say something.
Sure.
When we spoke about the issue of where it was in the Liberian Constitution, the issue of dual citizenship was, I said I would get it and get back to you. I just have someone pull up the Liberian Constitution on my iPad, and it is caught up in Article 27 and 28 of the Liberian Constitution. But Article 28 deals with it even in a more in-depth way, and I would like to read it for you. Article 28 of the Liberian 1986 Constitution states, and I quote, "Any person, at least one of whose parents was a citizen of Liberia at the time of the person's birth, shall be a citizen of Liberia, provided that such person shall, upon reaching maturity, renounce any other citizenship acquired by virtue of one parent being a citizen of another country. No citizen of the Republic shall be deprived of citizenship or nationality except as provided by law." And this law now is the one that is in the Alien and Nationalization law that says, if you do certain things, you're actually deprived. And then it ends. "And no person shall be denied the right to change citizenship or nationality." So this is the constitutional provision for which, if we make any changes, it must be reflected here. So this is an issue that calls for a referendum also, and I said it earlier when I spoke, that it will come as a bill, go to the two houses, and then it will be put on the referendum, and it will be decided upon by the citizens of Liberia. So Article 28 of the Constitution and 27 and 28 deals with the issue of how people can lose their citizenship or how you can obtain one, and what are some of the requirements. Now, out of Article 28, the Alien and Naturalization law goes a step forward to explain exactly how people can lose their citizenship. So I just wanted to clarify that before we go along.
Okay, Honorable Whitty, you wanted to add to that? Or?
Yeah, it's just by coincidence that the senator just read, because I must say I just printed the Constitution on the issue of citizenship, just to not to further say anything the senator is right. I have it read with me here, and just to add the people, some people argue that is not in our constitutional right to change citizenship. According to the law of the Republic of Liberia, it says that no person should be denied the right to change citizenship or nationality. So if you decide to change it, that's a constitutional right. So, like the Senator mentioned, this issue have to go further and be discussed. So, not to say anything more, she's read just as the document says.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I got another text question, text message question here. Again, it comes from Clarence Gono, Philadelphia. The question reads, how do you comment on the notion that dual citizenship will promote unfair competition in the Liberian social order? For example, those with capital from out would disadvantage Liberians on the ground. How does dual citizenship impact patriotism?
Well, I think I answered this question when I said that it is the perception of those on the ground that those coming from in the diaspora actually offset their livelihood. But I think I said it earlier also that I think those Liberians in the diaspora actually complement the level of work that we need done in our country. And we must all just find a way to work and to live together. There's no way you should just, deny someone who is a citizen of a country and say, well, because you've gone abroad and you come home, you can't be a part of what we're doing. And that's where it takes leadership, it takes unity, it takes consultations so that we can continue to live and work together. We are such a small country in terms of population, yet we have all of these little differences amongst us that seem to tear us apart at every bend and every turn. We must go beyond these differences because there is more that actually there are more things that bind us together than there are that tear us apart, and it will take the maturity of all of us as leaders and those in the diaspora and those at home continue to work together for a peaceful Liberia.
Thank you. My next caller is a wireless caller, no name. So the last 4 digits, 1299. 1299, please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question. 1299.
Yeah, my name is Maurice Kromah. I'm calling from Philadelphia. Madam Senator, welcome to the United States. I was just in Liberia about 4 or 5 days ago. I actually just came back, and I have a couple of concerns. When it comes to dual citizenship, I think it's a good thing. It's going to serve the overall purpose of the country. However, I think, in my view, that there must be some kind of limitation to those that have dual citizenship over those that are actual single citizens of Liberia. So those that are single citizens of Liberia must have maybe more benefits as Liberians that can run for up to the highest office of the nation, like the presidency, over those that have dual citizenship. Because a dual citizen has, right to 2 countries, and you as a Liberian have only one right to 1 single country. So I think, that's one aspect of dual citizenship that I see. But during the conversation somewhere, I heard you say something about, some managing directors and people in executive branch making over $10,000. And that to you was a justification for you guys increasing your pay. Not saying directly what you said, but that's what I made up in my mind. So I'm saying to myself, if this is the trend, if our public officials are increasing the pay because in the executive is happening, then we are heading into trouble. I thought because of you guys are the lawmakers, would have said, well, you know what, the best thing we can do is to actually decrease the people's pay and demand the executive to say, well, the best thing, let's get these people to reduce their pay because it is not an equal redistribution of the wealth over the entire country. So because of that, let's decrease the pay so that everybody can be reflected, so everybody can have a fair share of the natural resources of the country. Instead, the senators and legislators actually increase their pay because the executive branch members were increasing their pay. I don't know how can you reconcile the two statements, Madam Senator. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I didn't justify the fact that we have an increase in pay because others are making more money. I justified our increase in pay after 7 years because of the level of responsibility that we carry out because of the level of poverty of our country. And I think this is something that everybody is aware of. and we must accept as a part of our lives. Until we are able to decrease the level of poverty, no citizen of a country can walk into a minister's office and say, well, do this for me. But the lawmakers have their offices open to their constituencies, and it is expected that we do all of this, and it comes from our salaries. So that is the justification, because we actually put back into our constituencies more than 70% of our salaries.
Okay. I've been notified that...
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody. We did ask for 1 hour of the senator term, and I think we are going...
I'm just going to announce that I just been notified that the senator has just 15 minutes left.
Okay.
I just got that text message. So 15 minutes left, and so I'm assuming she will entertain 3 more questions. If she will keep the answers brief, we can possibly accommodate 3 more callers. Flomo, 1296. Please tell us where you're calling from and your question for the senator.
My name is D. Flomo. I'm calling from the city of Brooklyn Park in Minnesota. Madam Senator, thank you for coming and being a part of this program tonight. And thank you to the moderator, Mr. Kromah. As a founding member of Liberia Destiny Debaters, I would like to give you first and foremost an open invitation to appear on our program in the coming days or so. I don't have much a question, but what I do want to say regarding the issue here tonight has to do with the issue that many people in the country feel or think that our brothers just go to Liberia and take job away from them and take salary, whatever salary they make, and then invest it in the United States. I don't think that's the way people should be thinking. I'm in favor of dual citizenship because I know the cost benefit to dual citizenship. And every single person, if you live in the United States or any developed country, you can see that if you have a dual citizenship and you really set up a system that is controlled, that you can control, you will see development in your country. So I don't see it should be a problem for anyone to say, oh, they are going to come here and just take our jobs from us. It shouldn't be that way. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. DeFlo. Senator, if you want, I can take another one here. Then you can do 2 for 1.
Yeah, go ahead, because I think you were just making comments.
Right, that was just comment. Yeah, exactly. And then an invitation. No name 5043-5043. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question. 5043.
Yeah, I'm JKK. Hello.
What's your name? What's your name again?
I'm JKK. I'm calling from Philadelphia.
Welcome to the forum.
Thank you, Madam Senator. I want to first start the issue of dual citizenship in Liberia. According to the Liberian Constitution, Article 28, I have done extensive research on this issue. I'm reading a 30-page document, and you the third senator I'll be discussing the issue with. I think 2 years ago, Senator Kupi and the former President Pro Tempore, Senator Watterson, were all here on the same issue. And I brought this issue up for the first time. The Constitution of the Republic of Liberia under Article 28, in fact, recognizes dual citizenship. That's period. What is at hand is the statutory law. It bears within the immigration law of Liberia. So what we need to do, rather than creating a new law that we're going to send forward for constitutional referendum, and will bring other implications, is not a constitutional issue. It is a statutory issue. The only thing you need to do, you have the power easily to repeal the 1972 immigration law that says that. Because if you look at the Constitution of Liberia, it says Article 28, it says anybody born in Liberia. And it also went further to say, if somebody becomes citizen, you can change your citizenship. You cannot be denied. In that spirit, and there is no caveat within the Constitution which give a caveat that says if you change your constitution, your citizenship, you are denied Liberian citizenship. It's not there. And the Constitution says every law should be consistent with it because it's the fundamental and organic law of the land. Any law that's inconsistent is ineffective. It shouldn't be law. So there's no need with those spoiler resources or pursue all kinds of referendum. It's not a constitutional issue. It's a statutory issue. All you need to do is go to the bylaws that were created by legislation and go and repeal them. Finish. Dual citizenship will be there. The only aspect I think that needs continual referendum is where a child is born. Like my instance, I have a child here. From 1 year, from the day he was born to the last day of his 17th year, he is both a Liberian and American. And that is, he got that citizenship by natural means because I'm a natural Liberian. Mm-hmm. And there's nowhere, man, at no point in time in a child's life can a government called a man curtail his citizenship because it was given naturally. So that part of the Constitution needs to be repealed. That's the only one that needs to go with referendum because why? The government or human being cannot curtail the right of my child's citizenship that was given by birth. Man cannot do that. You cannot defy natural order. It's not. If it was natural by true naturalization, I would agree. But it's natural. You cannot, in any time of a child's life, curtail the citizenship of a human being. You know, it's natural. It is inalienable right. So it's not a constitutional issue. It's a statutory issue. Go there. Those laws, we can work along with you. We have these things in place. We can work along with your office. So we see how best we can put this thing forward. When these laws are being created, being written, we work along with some of your lawmakers. But unfortunately, those we work with, those guys are not prepared to listen. What they had in mind is what they're pushing. You people have gone this far.
Let me respectfully. Let me respectfully. Disagree with the caller, and he said that it's not in the Constitution, but it's also in the Constitution. There are two aspects of this law that people are concerned about, and I think one of the callers was clear when he stated the fact that children of Liberian citizens have lost their citizenship, and how do they restore it? Someone raised that issue earlier. And it says here clearly that a child of parents who are citizens of Liberia, upon reaching maturity, should renounce one citizenship or the other. If you're born here, you stay here, you pass the 21-year-old, and you continue to carry the Liberian passport, you have already accepted the new citizenship. And the bottom of the law says, no person shall be denied the right to change their citizenship or nationality. So by right, any individual can change their citizenship. The law doesn't preclude that. But what the law clearly says is that no citizen of the Republic shall be deprived of citizenship or nationality except as provided by law. That law is already in place, saying that if you pledge citizenship to another country, if you do certain things, you automatically lose your citizenship. So you can't just change the statute. You must also change this law that says somebody born of parents who are Liberian citizens, lose their citizenship until they decide which one they want to keep. So you can't take a portion of this law and say we must change one portion, yet the other one is a statute. It has to be the entire Article 28 or nothing at all. So there is a constitutional provision to this law from which we must take it to the referendum. So that's the part of the thing I wanted to clarify with the caller.
Okay. Well, we've reached the 15 minutes point mark, and at this time it's purely your choice, Senator. But I must say though, there are a lot of people waiting with questions, and as the people's leader, it's strictly up to you. We want to be respectful of your time, and our Honorable Slade is on, and Honorable Witty. So we've reached the 15 minutes point mark. So
I want to say something, Mr. Kromah, because I think we're getting the same questions recycled. If there are two other questions outside of ones that have been asked, I will take the last two before I leave you.
Now, keep in mind that I don't know what the questions will be until they start speaking. So,
okay.
9147, 9147. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for the senator. Please don't repeat.
My name is Charles Hiama, and I'm calling from Worcester, Massachusetts. Senator, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And my only concern here is that from the past, we have heard that Liberians were hired or were recruited to go and work in Liberia and were given presidential appointments, and they have to face the Senate or the House were denied because they had American citizenship or they had dual citizenship. Now, again, I would want you to please let us know in this public manner. You probably might not have the facts, but when you get back, you will be able to research the facts and inform us again. Now that we have heard Mr. Robert Salif is an American citizen, and he's serving in a position that is an appointed position by the government of Liberia. If you get back and it's proven, because we have been given passport number that can be verified. If it's proven that this gentleman is an American citizen, what would be your position with respect to him and to those other Liberians that were denied job confirmation because they were American citizens or they had dual citizenship?
Thank you.
To my recollection, there was one person denied because they admitted on the oath that they were American citizens. This particular gentleman, if I remember correctly, had worked in the United States Army, and he wanted to come in and get a job in the Coast Guard, the Liberian Coast Guard. And he admitted that he was a Liberian citizen, a U.S. citizen, and it was based on that admission that he was actually denied because our laws do not recognize dual citizenship. Whatever information has been filtered on the Internet concerning the citizenship of Mr. Robert Salif must be carefully investigated and found out, and then the law will take its course. I'm hoping that the legislature is out. We don't come back as a body till January. But I'm sure with this revelation coming out, there will be some investigations being done. And the law of the country must take its course.
Okay, thank you. Before I take the last question here, this gentleman has been testing me that he has an announcement. So would you please be quick with your announcement, Mr. Donzo?
Hi, Madam Senator. My name is Al Donzo. I'm calling from Minnesota, specifically Plymouth. I am the current Secretary General of the Federation of Liberian Mandingo in the United States of America. Last year, we carried on a medical mission to Liberia that was successful in its entirety, helping the helping people that needed medical attention. And next year, to be precise, in March, we will be going back to Liberia. But this time around, we are expecting to focus on the rural area, helping people that need medical needs. So we are asking you if you can help us in freeing the contingent that will be leaving from the United States at the port, so we can be able to transport these medical items to the various areas in Liberia. So we really need your assistance in securing the release of our contingent in Liberia. So that's the announcement I wanted to make, that Samosa will be coming back to Liberia next year with another medical mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
And I want to thank you for the medical mission for last year. If there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is lowerbong1. That's LOWERBONG1 If you would send me some information, I would be able to see what I can do to help. I think the first mission was in Monserrato. I'm hoping you can go to maybe one of the other outlying counties, because we really do need a lot of help outside, because it's difficult for people to come from Bong and come from Lofa and come from Nima to come all the way to Monrovia for surgery. But we appreciate helping wherever we can. Please let me know what I can do to help. I will be honored.
Here's my last question for the night. Mr.
Moderator, can we try to tell her thanks before, because the time, express our thanks to her.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take this last person here, and then I'll just saying that. So no more staff making entry. I see all of you still making entry, but we're just taking one last caller. Senior, would you please state where you're calling from and your question for the center? Last caller.
Yes, Mr. Kromah, first, thank you for taking my call. And let me also thank the senator for being on the show. It's her second time with us on the show, and we want to thank her for coming. But let me say, first, I want to also thank the senator for her position on the issue of dual citizenship. I think let it be stated for the record that I also do not support dual citizenship because, it's clear that I will argue proponents of dual citizenship have not truly made the argument. The argument, as I argue, is centric until they can make a holistic argument in favor of dual citizenship in terms of who gets dual citizenship and why, and not limit it to just people overseas. I think most of the argument, in my view, is centric because it's only based for people overseas. So I'm so happy that we have a senator who is, thinking for the whole of Liberia and not just for a particular group. So, Madam Senator, I want to endorse a position on this. I want to believe you are not taking any particular position in terms of in favoring or against. But I will tell you, not all Liberians in the U.S. in favor of dual citizenship. I, Seya Yaounde, do not support dual citizenship. If the law passes and it happens, the God bless Liberia, then we all can assume that. But for now, we do not support that. But allow me also to please, question you on the issue of the salary. I was a little bit discomfortable when you said that, your justification you gave for why you increased the salary. You mentioned particularly your constituents of poverty level and people coming, being reduced to beggary. And I think the justification was not satisfactory to me. Just because people come into your office to beg, that does not in any way suggest to me that we should increase salary for you all. So my question now would be, what happens to the PRS, and the country development funds? What happened to those funds?
Thank you, Mr. Sia. Thank you.
The PRS and the County Development Fund is a process that government is using to upgrade the lives of people. We seem to have forgotten that we've come through a long process of war and crisis, and every system in our country is broken down. I'm hoping that as a result of the difficulties that we face as Liberians, that hopefully we'll never go to war again with ourselves, because it's not worth the sacrifices and the time that it takes to rebuild. They're not building a road there's a new road being built for Ray Light to Bong. We got money for that. There's money for the Somalia Highway to be rebuilt. The road from Cotton Tree to Buchanan is, I think, almost completed. But a lot of things are happening. But mind you, if you don't have job opportunities for your people, the level of poverty will continue to grow and to grow. There are many people living below $1 a day. Not everyone has a family member in the United States, and I know the burden of those of you who live and work here, in that the amount of money that has to be sent every month to sustain family members. Who wants to do this for a long time? We're in the same position. Just as you know that you will not get a call from your family members in Liberia and say, oh, today I'm not able to help them because I have to pay a bill. They become a priority for you because you know they're in difficult circumstances. And so it's the same thing with the legislature. I know members of the legislature, including myself, get barrages of requests, and we must fulfill them because our people are at a difficult level. Doesn't mean we're not building roads or that schools are not being built, but it takes a while to transform the things that are being done now to relate into tangible jobs for our people. But I'm happy that the budget for this year also put money in the budget to provide skills training and development for our young people. There's a young entrepreneur program that I think Liberians will be able to access to begin their own businesses. And hopefully in the next few years, things will get a little bit better. But I think we must look at the reality on the ground, and the reality is that out of the three branches, the one that is most at the point of looking at the issue of poverty in our constituencies is the legislature. And so if we wait for 7 years and say, well, this is the problem we face, and we need to increase our salary to help us meet the needs of our people, I don't think it's a bad thing. But again, you might look at it a little bit differently, and I always like to speak from my heart. If you ask me this question tomorrow, I would say the same thing. that we actually spend more of what we get helping our constituencies. And for me, that's a justification for what I needed an additional salary for. But we've been working for 7 years without any increment. And who will hold their salary for 7 years? You guys work here. Every year you get an increase in your salary and in your benefits. Every year that you stay on your job longer, there are more benefits that you get. We don't have that kind of luxury. And so this year we decided, hey, let's try to increase some of our benefits to help us cope with the needs that we have in our counties. And I think this is where we are. I want to thank all of you for taking this time to listen to me. I hope we've had successful deliberations. I know it will not be the last time that we'll interact and we'll talk as we look forward to continue to work together to create a better Liberia. I remain your servant. Thank you so much.
Okay, Senator. Senator, this is Wetty on behalf of, I know President Gisler, I'll get a chance to hear. Let's say for the record, the Senator is on record along with Senator Kupi and Watterson pledging the support for the dual citizenship bill. The Senator did not say she didn't support it. She said she supported it, and this is a working process. So the previous speaker was trying to put the Senator on record that she doesn't support it. We want to say thank you, Madam Senator and moderator, and everybody that came on this conference that supported this thing. On December the 7th and the 8th, we'll meet in Washington, D.C., where we'll have an open forum, and we want to have a discussion on this thing, and we want to proceed to Liberia. Thank everybody for coming. Our next person we want to contact will be Senator Kupi from Nima County. We're making an arrangement with him to get on the show. He one of the senators that support the bill. We want to say thanks to the senator for the time, and thanks to everybody that made the thing very possible. Madam Senator, we'll be meeting you in Liberia. I don't know whether President Gisler is on, so you can give me a word, then we can close. Thank you. President Gisler?
Yes, okay. Thank you, Eminent Wetty, and thank you, moderator. I want to say a special thank you to the Madam Senator for the job well done tonight. As you can, I won't say see, but as you can hear from different callers and questions coming to you, Liberians in the diaspora, they are very much concerned about the dual citizenship issue. And we want to thank you as being one of the pioneers who sponsored the bill when it first went on the floor. We want to encourage you to continue your support for this bill because it's going to benefit not just diaspora Liberian, but our country as a whole, not just to get jobs, but we're looking for infrastructure, we're looking at family reconnection, we're looking at land issues, so bring more to the country. So dual citizenship is an issue that is very dear to the heart of many Liberians in this country. And, of course, as a free country, we all welcome any opposition. Diverse ideas at this time is very much important because we will not say that we limit ourselves to just hearing what we want to hear. No, I mean, if you have a contrary view, it is good that you come to Washington, D.C. on December the 7th and 8th, and you can let us know why you are holding against the issue of dual citizenship, and we can look at the pros and cons. And if you are able to convince us, don't say, hey, look, gentlemen, I think this other group is right, let it go. So we're encouraging everyone to come to D.C. Again, thank you all for being on here, and thank you, Madam Senator, for your evening.
Thank you. On behalf of myself and the hard-working staff of the Liberian Diaspora Forum, I want to thank Eminent Emmanuel Wetty, President Gisler, and Senator Joy Howard Taylor, and as always, all of our listeners, without whom we would not be here. So I want to thank each and every one. We've come to the end of this tonight's program, so let's have a safe drive home, home from work, and then let's keep our brothers in mind, our brothers on the East Coast. Let's pray for them. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you guys take care. Let's pray for one another.
Thank you, Mama.